Amazing, this culture of like someone says something, the headline goes out. What times we are living in. Hi, what a
Hi,
delight. SCP
that's me. Not
major.
SAP, but SCP.
Yeah. You
That's
but you
probably
but
hard for you to have as much affection for me as you might have for her, but that's okay. I'll take what I can get.
no, I would say like of the important women in my life, they're all Sarah. It's like Sarah Michelle Gellar, Sarah Jessica Parker, Sarah Catherine Paulson, all three Sarahs. It's
I
important.
like it. I'll take it. I'll
Okay, I
take
want
it.
to jump right in because I have a lot to talk to you about, but I want to start in the most random way possible by asking you about one of my favorite films, Down with Love, which you co-starred in 2003 opposite Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor. It was one of your earliest film roles, and I just want to get your thoughts on Here's to Love. It's an original song from the movie sung by Zellweger and McGregor that I consider one of the great bops of the 21st century. What are your thoughts?
I haven't heard that song in a very long time, but I think of that movie with nothing but affection. And also like that what comes smashing right into the thought with it for me is how exciting and sort of I thought, even though it was a retro inspired movie, was sort of ahead of its time in term. I feel like the world was not quite ready for that movie. And of course it was released, I think, the same weekend as the sequel to The Matrix. So it was like a thought of as counter programming, and it was really just not counter programming because
Yeah.
it was not widely watched, but it's something I'm very proud to be a part of and was very exciting to do.
Holds up terrifically. Really great film. Exquisite costuming. I mean, everything. Just that movie visually, it's quite sumptuous. So highly recommend. If you get a chance, go back and check that song out. I really, really do
Is
love
it
that song.
yeah. Here's love.
Yeah, there's like those bizarre harmonies, but mind you, this was right after Renee had done Chicago, so it was like if we
And you
have
and Moulin Rouge.
right, so it's like you gotta have them sing. Speaking of which, are we ever going to get Sarah Paulson in a musical?
no, sir. You don't want it. You don't want it. Amanda Pete, who was my best friend, we were asked to do carpool karaoke recently. And I was like, this could be such a disaster because she can really sing. She's great pitch. I have to drive because that's how it is in our friendship and our relationship, as I've always been driving for the last 25 years. That's just how it goes. So we'll crash the car because I'll start laughing and she'll just be horrified at the sound that comes out of it. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to know about it. You don't want to hear it. It's not good. I had to sing once for American Horror Story. I had to work with a vocal coach for a long time, had to come in the booth with me to record, to be like, up here, we're up here. And I was like, oh, I mean, it was really quite something, quite something.
Okay, so we're not getting Sunday in the Park with George
No,
starring Sarah Paulson.
nothing would make me happier. I mean, I love Sondheim musical more than anything in this world. Have a lyric tattooed on my arm,
Oh wow.
but
But you're more of like in the audience for said musical.
in the audience, weeping, clutching my chest, sobbing,
Yeah,
laughing,
I
tapping my
get it.
toe. But you don't want to hear it. You don't.
Do you have a favorite Sondheim musical?
I love Sunday in the Park with George. I do. I just saw Company. I was in New York right before the Omicron situation sort of has flooded the town. And I saw the opening and I thought it was just very special. And Patty LuPone, I bow down. I bow down to Patty.
Yeah, she is an important figure both in the canon of theater, but also the canon of civilization.
I agree with that completely.
While we are diving back into your career, I want to touch on one of my favorite Sarah Paulson performances. And as it turns out, I am not alone in my love for this role in this television series. So I want to bring in our first special guest, the lovely and talented Mandy Moore.
Oh,
hi, Sarah and Evan. It's Mandy. So I just have a silly burning question, Miss Paulson. I am obsessed with Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. It is where I first came to know your work and was just besotted with you. I love that show. I would love to hear any of the origin story, how you first heard about it, how you got cast. Did you love Sorkin? How was it working on the show? Did everybody know what a special thing they were a part of? Did you guys feel the weird competitive edge with 30 Rock? Because I know you guys were sort of pitted against each other. You both kind kind of came out at the same time. I mean, obviously wildly different shows, but yeah, I want to know everything and all the things about it, quite frankly. I've made my husband watch it. I think I've seen the series 2 or 3 times all the way through. I thought it was fantastic and you were fantastic and I'd love to hear all the things about it. So thank you for indulging me.
She's the world's most darling person, by the way.
I mean,
just like a heart of actual gold. Like you'd crack open her chest, there'd be like a pulsing gold nugget of a heart that would be beating there. Well, Mandy, darling Mandy, let me answer some of your burning questions. First of all, that year, this show was originally called Studio 7 and it was changed to Studio 60. And I can't remember what the reason was. There was a good one. We're talking almost 20 years ago, so forgive me. It was the hottest pilot in town. It was the show everybody wanted to be on. Matthew Perry was already cast. Bradley Whitford was not yet cast. I think Amanda Peet, my best friend, who was my best friend prior to this, she figures into this story, was cast. And then Bradley Whitford, and then so on and so on and so on. But it was the thing everybody and their mother was auditioning for. Every actress in my age range and above and beyond were vying for a role on the show. I auditioned. My friendship with Amanda did not hurt, and her friendship with Matthew Perry, having done the whole 9 yards, did not hurt in the sense that I think it got me past the sort of original, just meeting with the casting directors. I kind of went straight in to read for the producers. And the main thing was what I was told when I went to audition was, and apparently some of the other actresses were not told this or didn't take it seriously, which is you had to prepare a few impressions because you were supposed to be a cast member on the show, on the Saturday Night Live type show. So everybody, they wanted them to have some sort of mimicry skills. And of course, my party trick for years, like my drunken party trick, was just always to just whip out my impressions at some point, just to try to be, entertaining and impressive to, whomever was around. And so I did my impressions. I brought bobby pins in to do my impression of Juliette Lewis in Cape Fear. I did like a whole thing. And I think when I finally went in to read with Matthew Perry, which was the last hoop to jump through, and it was between me and a few other girls. I can tell you off the record, Evan later, and Mandy also, who the other girl was who was going to get it. But I'm not going to share that with the world because it's just not nice to do. Because I think that was not a great day for that person, even though the show ended up being a total bomola. But like, it doesn't. I mean, see, it still got its fans, and I don't want to.
She's a 2-time watcher.
She's a 2-time watcher, which is like real dedication.
It is.
I wonder what I would think if I went back and watched it. I wonder if I would agree with Mandy or if I would have notes. Knowing me, I'd probably have notes about my own performance, about everyone else's too. But I did go in and audition, and I did my characters and my stuff. And Matthew Perry actually met with me right before he went in because of Amanda, and we sat in his car and we rehearsed a little bit before my final audition. So I did have the proverbial leg up in the sense that I had already had a little bit of engagement with Matthew, which I think helped since our characters were supposed to be wildly in love with each other.
And did you feel that, I mean, as you mentioned, there was just so much pressure on all of you for the show to be a success. And, Matthew was, I believe, just coming off of Friends, if I remember timeline.
Yes, that's exactly right. And Bradley West Wing was still shooting before we talked about it. Yeah, it was.
Right. So did you feel that pressure? And then also just like, there was so much scrutiny around every decision made on that show. And so I'm just wondering if that, caused any sort of second guessing on your part as an actor when you're just trying to go in and do your job, but there's sort of this spotlight on every single aspect of the show that's quite uncommon.
Yes, it was a very expensive show to produce. There were obviously Bradley Whitford and Matthew were coming off 2 wildly popular shows, critically acclaimed shows, very celebrated shows. And so it was self-inflicted pressure. I felt a lot to, at that point I had been able to support myself as an actress, but I was not, anybody that if you showed my picture on the corner of Main Street, USA, nobody would know who the hell I was. So it was definitely felt like an opportunity for me to prove myself. And it felt the stakes were very high because Aaron is obviously an extraordinary writer and is incredibly fastidious about saying every line exactly as written. You cannot make was not into wasn't. If you do, you have to do the take again and say it exactly as written. You know, he comes from a musical theater background and everything has a kind of rhythm to it. And it is your job as the actor to, and some actors are extraordinarily good at it and other people have to work a little harder at it because it's so specific. I was one of those people. But the 30 Rock thing was a real, you know, if you have a show that, I mean, I know that we all, and I'll only speak for myself, but I remember we all sort of felt like we're going to be doing this show for like 8 years. I mean, this is going to be on forever. And of course we were quickly disabused of that thing. Cause I think we did 19 episodes or 20 episodes or something, which was just not what people expected. But the 30 Rock thing, I remember the sort of media pitting against, you know, what the showdown is going to be. And a lot of people predicted that Studio 60 would come out victorious because of the auspices and all the people involved. Not that Tina Fey didn't have a huge auspice herself. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. It, not the correct use of the word, but I always, you know, I didn't know what was going to happen, but obviously we know what happened. Studio 60 did not survive.
We do, but how funny, because it's like those shows, I understand why the comparisons happen, but tonally, they're like just on completely separate stratospheres. It's just so strange that they would, I mean, not so strange. I understand why they did it, but just sort of an odd comparison. While we're talking Studio 60, I have the $1 million question, okay? Your character was believed to be based off of Kristen Chenoweth. In 2013, when asked about this, you told Broadway.com, quote, "We have about as much in common as a rhinoceros and a mouse." In September of 2020, I posted a 16-image grid on Instagram of photos of you in your varying roles with the caption, "Sarah Paulson has the range." Kristen Chenoweth commented, "Hmm." And then you commented on her comment, "Hmm." Can you illuminate this bizarre exchange?
I cannot.
Okay.
I have nothing but respect and admiration for Kristen Chenoweth, and I'm sure I was a disappointing, like, and I'm not saying that's what she was humming about, but I was just responding to the with a I don't know. I don't really know her. She was very, very lovely to me when we were shooting. I got a card from her, and she was really, really proper. But we have not had much contact in the last few years.
Fair. It shall remain a Let's go back a bit to your early life. Born in Tampa, Florida, your parents divorced a few years later, and at 5, your mom moves you and your siblings to New York City. She's 27. Knows no one, and for a period you lived in Queens on a mattress on the floor before eventually relocating to West 11th Street before it was the glammed up West Village of today. What was that period like for you? And do I have my facts correct? Did I miss something?
No, those are completely accurate. Well researched, Evan Roskatz.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you know Tim Stack, by the way? Do you know Tim Stack?
Yeah.
He lives in my apartment, the apartment I lived in on 11th Street.
Oh, how funny.
Wild?
Yeah.
It's really weird. We one time went through a little description of what was still there and what wasn't. It was really wild. What do I remember about that time? I mean, it's obviously when you look back at your youth, particularly if you're lucky enough to grow up in New York City, I think there's a kind of romanticization that can happen about some of the, you know, cold wintry nights, you know, skipping down the street in the West Village, which are memories I do have. And it was a kind of magical place to grow up. And how old are you, Evan?
I'm 32.
Oh, so you don't remember the purple feet in West Village? There were purple feet that were like, stamped on the ground in the West Village. You know where the McDonald's is, or used to be? I don't know what's there now. What's across from the IFC theater there? There was a little playground
on 6th Avenue. Yeah, the McDonald's is still there.
Okay, so that's a playground I used to play in. There was a playground right there. I used to play there. And on the way to that place, there were these like purple stamped feet. And if you're a certain age, you will know that you'll remember. And I remember Googling it, and I think there was an artist who did this. But it's a really indelible thing in my childhood. Of course, no one will be interested in it because nobody knows what the fuck I'm talking about, but some rando listener out there will be like, I remember the purple flute.
Yeah.
For you, sir, you're welcome.
Hmm.
I don't know why I decided it was a man. But I remember it being a very, I went to PS 41, I went to St. Luke's, all in that neighborhood in the West Village. And I don't remember much about it, except for that when I look back, I think how lucky I was to have grown up there. And, it's where I knew I wanted to become an actress. And I was obviously in an environment where I remember my mom, walking me around Times Square and being aware that, the lights and the marquees where people were in those little boxes with seats in them, acting, performing. And so I remember it being a very stimulating place to be as a young person, really.
Do you remember your first live theatrical experience?
As an audience member?
Yeah, as an audience member.
I feel like I will conflate a couple of them, but one of them was I saw Karen Allen do The Miracle Worker downtown. With my mother, I saw Molly Ringwald do a play called Lily Dale. That was a Horton Foote play. And I remember seeing Janet McTeer in A Doll's House on Broadway. And
wow.
It was all three of them I remember, and I was varying ages, but it was like the thing my mother would do for me for my birthday present, which was, was right before Christmas, where she would take me to see a Broadway or off-Broadway show.
Wow, that's incredible. Now you continue to visit your dad in Florida, and I'm just wondering what it was like going from Tampa to New York City. I just feel like that I can't think of a more stark contrast in terms of places to grow up. And so what was it like, not commuting, but going back and forth between the two places?
We spent the summer, my sister Elizabeth and I spent the summers with my father in Tampa. And it was always kind of delightful. The thing is, when I had lived in Florida off and on, and we lived for a year in Maine as well with my grandparents. I just burped. But leave that in. This is real life, folks. What was I saying? Oh, so I lived with my father for my fourth grade year in Florida. And when I moved back to New York to live with my mother, I remember touring PS 29, where I was going to go to fifth grade. And there were all of these girls smoking in the bathroom, smoking cigarettes. And I just was wearing Oshkosh Bagosh overalls. I had those, you're not gonna remember this either, but some sweet gal will, these charm necklaces that you could clip like a little plastic record player, a little baby bottle, it was like a whole thing. I had these like very girly, young kind of child, like a little bit, under my age group, I think. Or just the girls in New York were moving at a much sort of faster pace than I was. And so I remember coming home to my mother and just sobbing and saying, please, I don't want to go to that school. I don't feel ready. And so she kept me back. I stayed back a year. I went to the fourth grade instead of the fifth grade. So my December birthday always made me traditionally the youngest in every class prior to that. But when I switched and stayed back here, I always was the oldest. So the difference for me from Florida to New York was mostly that I felt more myself, I think, in Florida, where it was everything moved at a just a different pace, and I felt just a little younger than some of these kids who had grown up in New York since they were born. And so I was shy, and I was a little nervous and a little unsure of myself, and partly because we moved around so much that I was constantly, I think, changing my personality to fit the circumstances, which of course was a wonderful breeding ground for becoming an actor, or just a great liar, one or the other,
or one and the same.
I
believe that you went to LaGuardia High School at one point. As you know, I'm a big fan of Sarah Michelle Gellar's, and as it turns out, the two of you actually went to the same high school, and as such, I felt it was important that we get her in the mix today. So I asked one Sarah to ask another Sarah a question.
Hi, Sarah. It's Sarah Michelle. So I have two questions. First of all, why just Sarah Paulson? I mean, what's wrong with Sarah Catherine Paulson? Don't you want to be in the 3-name Sarah Club? So that's my first question. And my second question, I heard a rumor that you're very good at impressions, and I think you should do some of them.
Wow.
Which is funny because you were just speaking about this.
I was speaking about them. It's so funny, but did Sarah Michelle Gellar not mention to you that we worked together? We did a pilot that never got picked up. We worked together.
Ooh, wait, can you illuminate?
We did work together. We did a pilot. What was it called? She'll know because she's got one of those brains where she probably remembers everything. We did a pilot together. Yeah.
Was this like in the WB days or like?
No, this was after
Oh.
this.
Oh, wow.
Can't remember who was
I'm
in it.
curious. Wait, was this for HBO?
Yes, yes.
Was this The Wonderful Maladies?
Yes, I was in. Yes,
I'm furious right now. Not at you. I wanted that show so bad.
so I was doing it too, and then it didn't. But so we actually had but I don't really. Did we have any scenes together in the first episode? I don't know because we didn't make it. So
Right. What could have been?
What could have been is a lot more Sarah content for you.
Right. Okay. So why not Sarah Catherine Paulson?
It never occurred to me. I don't know. It never occurred to me to be a three-namer. Also feels like a mouthful in a different way. That Paulson is also long and as Catherine. Sarah Michelle Gellar is short. Sarah Jessica Parker is a little shorter. There's a K and there's a constant. I feel like I have Sarah Catherine and it's with a THARI, Catherine Paulson. It feels a little clunky.
Fair enough.
It's long. It's long on my Instagram.
I was going to say, because it's present on the Instagram. That's why I sort of refer to you as SCP. And I think that's informed. I mean, I like calling SMG, SJP, SCP. But I think it's informed by your Instagram.
People call me SP and people call me, there's some people in the world where they are last name referred to kind of almost everyone in my life calls me Paulson.
It makes sense. You have a Paulson presence about you. Yeah. And as we're talking about, there's a ubiquity of Sarah. So Paulson is kind of distinguished.
Thank you.
Okay. So then go ahead. Sorry.
Like Sarah Michelle and Sarah Jessica goes by Sarah Jessica, right? They're not Sarah's. They're Sarah Jessica and Sarah Michelle, or are they?
No, Sarah Michelle is Sarah and Sarah Jessica is SJ.
In her world of people.
In her world of people, of which I am like a very distant, like in the orbit, very, very far back. SJ. Yeah.
And Sarah, and this is Sarah and Michelle.
Yeah. Or SMG, SMP. Yeah. But you're Paulson. Okay, but going back to her question, the impressions, which you mentioned earlier, Cape Fear. Are there any we can pull out of you right now? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, I don't not want to.
I can do my dolphin. I do an impression of a dolphin. Let's see if the chords are responding. It's not working today. My dogs are looking at me like, what are you doing? Pretty good dolphin.
Okay, yeah, I got a dolphin. I definitely got a dolphin from that.
Evan doesn't like it, but my
no, I like it.
No, I did it the other night, and it was the best it had been in a long time. But now sometimes I think I get performance anxiety.
Any like actors we could maybe
I can do. I like to do my Kathleen Turner, which is something like this. It depends on how I is Kathleen. That's pretty good.
That is really good. Okay, I won't ask for any more, but like, okay, without asking you to do it though, is there another one that you think that you do really well? If I'm not putting you on the spot to do it, but like, you mentioned this is sort of a party trick.
It is a party trick, but once I started doing them for real and getting paid to do them, I stopped. I don't have any new. I do a really good Holly Hunter too. I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, I guess.
Oh my God. Okay, that was the best one by far. I want to talk about Ocean's 8, but in particular, I want to talk about the premiere, the neon green Prada. You have a lot of great fashions. You are an absolute total fashion star, but of all of your looks, I always come back to that neon green Prada. And I'm just wondering, I know you work very closely with your stylist, and I'm wondering if you could talk sort of about bringing that look to life and how you felt getting to wear, I mean, we heart Prada over here, but we don't often see a look of that. It's a very loud look for Prada, and as it should be. And I don't know, I just think about that dress all the time.
Yeah, I remember Sandra Bullock being like, you showed up to the premiere dressed like a highlighter. And I was like, I sure did.
Yeah.
I sure did. And I'm here for it. That is probably my favorite dress I've ever worn, probably because it is so bold and the material is so out of this world, it's otherworldly, and yet the fit was so lovely. But it took a little bit to get the fit right on that dress, because I remember when Carla Welsh texted me saying, you have to, I found a dress that it's your Ocean's 8 premiere dress, you have to wear it. And when we first took it out of the box, it was like, I don't, all the little plastic, what would they be called? Like, I don't even know what they were.
Paillettes.
There was a paillette, but it was a long paillette. It wasn't
Oh.
a traditional circle paillette. There were circle paillettes on my green Emmy Prada dress that I wore that year. That dress had circle paillettes, and that everyone throughout the night would come up to me and be like, "Look, your dress fell off. I've got a," and it's like the guys would put it in their handkerchief pocket. It was kind of cool. I love leaving like trails of. My friend Jason Butler Harner, for my birthday one year, put a piece of Armani Privé dress I wore to the Emmys, like this purple netting that Joan Rivers made fun of, that I still feel such a badge of honor about. A piece of it came off one night and he saved it and he put it in like a lucite box. And it's this Armani netting with these red dots, very beautiful. And it's in my closet, and it doesn't have a light under it or anything, but it should. So I love dresses that sort of, leave little memories behind when you're on the red carpet. It's kind of cool. Anyway, I digress. Long paillettes, as Evan said. When you first took them out of the box, they were pointing in all these different directions, and it's like, you had to kind of like comb it down, like the Grinch's fur or something. You just had to like put it down, and we had to affect where the waist was sitting. It was much lower originally. We had to lift it, but it was just the coolest dress. And we did one fitting here in LA, and then when I went to the Met Ball that year, I was going with Prada as well, and so I was going to have a fitting with Mrs. Prada, which doesn't always happen. I've gone to the Met Ball with Prada a couple of times. She has not always been there, but she was there for this one, and it was the year I wore, it was so beautiful. I can't remember what the theme was, but it was that sort of heavenly
bodies.
Body. It's beautiful, like tulle bow on my back and my neck. It was just so exquisite. Right. She was like hand fixing things, and I was, she was describing what she wanted to have adjusted, and I put that dress on, and we had all of the team at Prada fixing the green Armani one while we were doing the Met Ball dress. So it felt incredibly glamorous, and I was obviously having the most extraordinary tailors, people who probably helped build the dress in the first place, fix it and just make it exactly. And it was just, I remember the green purse that they made for me out of the fabric that was the lining, and it was just, I wore a purple lip and my hair was kind of wet. And I just felt like I hate the term badass when used to describe a woman. It drives me fucking crazy. Can I say fucking crazy?
Yeah.
I just can't stand it. It's like, only because it feels like it, I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for saying that, but I'm not saying I don't like badass people. I do. I just feel like it's become this ubiquitous term to describe like every person who does one damn thing that they should be doing anyway.
Right.
We have to sort of anoint it or categorize it as badass because a woman's doing it.
Right. I was going to say there's a level, it's somewhat patronizing, right? It's like the effort to sort of like commend it feels inherently gendered. Like you're complimenting it in a gendered fashion, that it's like badass, but it's just like, I prefer the term serve. And I think that was an ultimate serve. Now tell me this much. I mean, one thing that always confounds me about, celebrities on red carpets is like, so you're serving, right? Like you're in a dress, you're guaranteed to serve. And yet you have to step out onto the carpet and like deliver the serve, if you will, which is something you're so good at, but you're not acting, right? Like you're SCP in that moment. And yet you're like, there's a camera present. You got to do something. You can't just stand there with your arms at your side. Do you have like an approach to how you handle the red carpet? It's just something that I think for so many of us, we don't experience. And yet we feel scot-free to comment on celebrities on the red carpets.
Yes, that part is always really hard, because hard, I don't mean like coal mining is hard. I mean like that part is always a little confusing, because on the one hand, you're having this celebratory moment. Look, you're there to promote a movie or a television program or something that may or may not work, but you put your, a lot of effort into it and time spent, which is the main thing, time in your life that you can't get back, and experiences that you had with the crew and the cast. And it could be such a celebratory evening that then gets just sort of like torn to shreds by everyone on the internet about what they don't like about what you chose to wear. So it's kind of a dirty business, that part of it, but it doesn't stop me from enjoying it. That is true, but it does take a little bit of mental gymnastics to prepare for that. Holland says that I have a thing I do on the carpet, which I am unaware of. Although Jessie Tyler Ferguson once sent me a video of me doing a thing, like I almost look like a bobblehead doll. I'm doing some weird thing where I'm trying to look at all the people on the carpet, and somehow I end up looking like a bobblehead doll on a dashboard. It's so bizarre. And I have seen this and I'm like, wow, I'm really doing a thing. And I didn't know I was doing a thing. And Holland has told me that like something happens when I get on the carpet where I become this other, and I don't notice it, and I'm not trying to do it, but it's probably just a hard shell coming down over my soft, wee little heart to like not get arrowed in the chest, maybe that, or that if it comes, I'm like Teflon trying to, So I think there might be, but it's completely unconscious, and it's just probably a self-preservational mode I go into.
I mean, I think that's really interesting because there's no training for that aspect of acting, right? It's like you can train, you can learn the role, and you can rehearse, and you can meet with the director. But the red carpet economy, because it really is an economy, it's a world unto itself. So I appreciate the level of self-preservation, and I try to be increasingly thoughtful about the way that I talk about red carpets. Always sort of with the mindset, I'm always learning how better to discuss things, how to be more articulate, how to be more thoughtful. It's an ongoing, I don't want to call it a battle. It's an ongoing sort of, conversation I have with people.
But I think that's a really, that's a wonderful thing to be contributing to the thing you're putting out into the world. I mean, it's sort of just acknowledging that the way you frame it, or the words you choose to talk about it, doesn't mean you have to like it at all. I mean, I love this free to be you and me. Everybody have your opinion, have it. Just think about the way it's being delivered, because people do have feelings, and some people don't give a shit. They're like, oh, please, it was a dress I put on, I don't care. Right. Other people have a vested interest in it, and other people, nobody likes to feel bad about. Nobody likes, I mean, it goes back to that feeling in school of like, if someone's making fun of you, or someone doesn't want to sit next to you at a lunch table, and imagine if there's a megaphone attached to that experience. It would be painful, I think, for anyone, really.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I remember when you and I were chatting back and forth during the Met Gala earlier this year, I often enjoy those private conversations with somebody else who cares, in which we talk about the fashion more than I do like the public commentary, because then you can have real, like, meaningful conversations about like, this is what I thought worked, this is what I think didn't. And again, often it's not really talking about the celebrity at all. It's talking about the outfit, and did it work in that specific moment, under that specific light, with that curtain, with that step and repeat, with that serve, is it the right angle, etc. There's so many factors that have nothing to do with the person itself, but can feel targeted.
Totally. I mean, there are moments where I've walked on a carpet, and the minute you see it, and you're like, oh, wonderful overhead lighting and I know actresses who who won't do photo calls in certain areas because of the way the light will be. And it never occurred to me. And I was like, wait, that's a thing you can be like, no, I won't do that photo call in London on that particular, because of the light. Oh, good to
yeah, I was gonna say,
I didn't know that you could say these things. Like, these are the things I've learned and picked up along the way. And believe me, when it's time to use it, I'm going to use it. But there are all kinds of variables that go into it. The color of the background, the color of the carpet, the way the sun, if it's a rainy day, I think the light that you had in your fitting room that the whole thing can just go very awry.
I understand. So we were talking about the Ocean's 8 red carpet. I do want to ask you something. I mean, it's called Ocean's 8. And many people felt like it was called Ocean's 8 because the hope that it would be another trilogy, 8, 9, 10, leading us to 11, 12, 13. Has there been any conversation about an Ocean's 9?
I don't know. No. I don't think so. I would love to do it personally, because I love those women, and we had a wonderful time together. I think, it would probably have to be a story that would really make sense. My favorite thing was when the movie first came out, people coming up with who would be the 9. And that was really fun to sort of watch people predict that. But I have heard nothing about that. So at this point, I'm like, I don't know that. Can you wait this long? I don't know that you can. I'm
going to vote yes, but I mean, hey, look at And Just Like That. I mean, we're picking things up over a decade later. So never say never. You have been afforded the opportunity and seized on it to play queer characters throughout your career, from The Other Woman. I'm so happy to be mentioning The Other Woman right now, to Carol, to American Horror Story. What?
The Other Sister?
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's okay. I'm glad you're happy to be mentioning The Other Woman, but it's called The Other Sister.
Not The Other Woman.
But listen, maybe it should have been called The Other Woman. And then it would have been about my character, but it wasn't. The other. Take two.
From The Other Sister to Carol to American Horror Story to Ratchet, among others, there's been a lot of conversation over the last few years about authentic queer representation in film and television. And I'm wondering what it's been like for you to play so many dynamic queer women in your work.
So interesting. I wish I could say to you that there was a motive or a plan afoot in terms of me choosing those things, but that would be really dishonest of me. I think what is honest is that I gravitate towards playing characters who feel multidimensional, multifaceted, and I have been lucky enough to play women who are queer and who, and in stories that are often queer stories. And in the case of Ratchet, doing that with Cynthia Nixon, that was a very empowering kind of thing that we were both aware of the snapshot of that, just on the face of it, if you know nothing else about it, and the power of real representation with a story that I think people, at least people who watched it, and it seemed like a lot of people watched it, could really hook into and really care about. And that was very meaningful to both of us. So at the end of the day, I'm just happy to have had an opportunity to play dynamic, complicated, multifaceted, multidimensional characters. The fact that that part of my life and that part of human experience can be represented in a way that I can feel good about is meaning that it feels honest to me, and that I have had a voice in shaping some of it when it felt maybe not as authentic as it could, or and Cynthia and I think certainly brought both of our full selves to that in a way that I think makes us both happy.
The oyster scene alone, I mean, the amount of times I find myself rewatching that scene in particular, it's just acting. I absolutely love it.
It was so disgusting shooting that scene, I have to tell you, because I don't eat oysters. I think they're vile beyond, I hate everything about them. I hate everything about them. Cynthia likes them a great deal. Cynthia had real oysters. I had, they made me like a weird mushroom that they cut in half and they put like a sauce on it and a thing to make, but even that, like after a while, and they kept bringing Cynthia fresh oysters. I'm going to use the term very loosely because we shot the scene for a very long time, kept bringing them out. She ate them all. It was vile to me, but boy, is she a committed, dedicated actress. I am not, because I did not eat a real oyster.
Okay, fair. But I mean, I'm still going to give you that credit. You are a committed and dedicated actor. But I just want to shout out Cynthia Nixon, incredible in Ratchet. And for those of us watching, and just like that, she is giving a performance. We have range. We have character development. A lot going down. We could talk about that for days, but we won't. But let's talk about Carol for a moment. The definitive Christmas movie, a movie that no doubt turned many people queer. I don't have a specific question so much as I want you to detail in order every memory you have from casting to the film's release. I mean, literally, I went to the recent premiere of Nightmare Alley, and Cate Blanchett and Rooney Mara was there. And the whole time, all I could do was stare at the two of them and reminisce about Carol. I mean, Nightmare Alley, fantastic film, Guillermo del Toro, fantastic filmmaker, but Carol.
Oh, it was such a beautiful movie. Todd did such a, it's, talk about, you mentioned earlier, the visual, as it pertained to a different piece, but, there is something so potent and so evocative and so sensual about the lush beauty of that movie. And I'm not just talking about the two women who are at the center of the story, but just, it was shot with like, almost like just through like sheer velvet or something. It just is so beautiful. And their performances are just, let's just say I understand why everybody really loves that movie. And I also understand why people want more of Abby and why, there should be a sequel. I completely agree that the Abby and Carol story would be a wonderful story to add to Todd's, wonderful filmography. And I think I should email him now and ask him to get on that.
Yeah, I am going to co-sign that. I mean, that would be important.
It would be great. It was a really, that was my first time working with Kate. I've worked with her 3 times. So that's, makes me very cool. I don't know if you know that, but if you work with Cate Blanchett once, you're just already the coolest cat in town, but I've got 3. So that sort of just ups the ante, just in my world, mentally, for my head. But I do remember meeting her for the first time on the carpet of the first Oscars I went to, which was for 12 Years a Slave. And she stopped me on the carpet. And you can imagine, this was the night she won the Oscar for Blue Jasmine. We were leaving to go shoot the movie in about a week to do Carol. I was so excited that I had another job, much less that I had another job on something with such an extraordinary filmmaker and 2 of these exceptional actresses. But the fact that I'll just never forget, like her touching my arm and sort of saying in that, inimitable voice of Kate's, that I cannot impersonate, because she has this magical hybrid of this Australian British accent sort of also sprinkled with some American. So I just am not talented enough to do it. And she's very tall and she's wearing high heel shoes. And she just, is a superstar creature, woodland creature, magician, magical, it's just like it's just not right. Intergalactic megawatt, just more than you can bear. But the fact that she knew my name and knew who I was and said lovely things about looking forward to working with me on a night when she I'll just never forget it as long as I live. And now she's just boring old Kate to me. Now I'm just, but it was a really, really remarkable experience. And I had a wonderfully fun time with Rooney too. She was, she has such a wonderful stillness as an actress, but she is such a delightful kind of ebullient person. So it's wonderful, wonderful experience all around.
And always just a wonderful film to revisit. I feel like it's one of those films that it's just upon rewatch, you always get more and more, not only from the film itself, but from the performances. And I know we talk a lot about chemistry and blah, 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 but like those two actors, actually not just those two actors, you as well, like the chemistry amongst this cast is just, it's really worth doing a deep dive on, which hopefully we will do one day. Okay. You have a very rabid and passionate fan base, right? To say the least. I mean, I don't know how much you go on Twitter these days, but Twitter holistically is a fan of SCP. And I'm just wondering what it's like to see these GIFs and performances pulled out of context and then basically deified. And I just want to point out, I thought you brilliantly took this clip going around on TikTok, which my friend had to tell me about. It's he's escaping, the killer is escaping. And you kind of put your footprint on it. You took back the night, if you will, from that clip. But yeah, I mean, I'm constantly seeing Sarah Paulson content on the timeline. I myself, I'm making 16 square little grid posts. And so I'm just wondering, what is that like? Does that ever feel normal? Is it always weird?
It's weird. What's weird more is I have friends who are like, if I have one more, like a friend of mine who's on Twitter is like, if I have one more of your fans with like all the avatars that are on my timeline are of your face, and it's weird. And that is strange. And also, I have to say, I'm so delighted that anybody gives a shit about my work and that they feel so passionately about it. And, it's a lovely thing to have a group of people who sort of see you and are excited for the work that you're doing. And I'm always delighted by it, except for if it gets a little bit, the demanding part where sometimes it's like, I demand you to, sanction my tattoo so my mother won't, and it's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to sanction the tattoo of my face you got on your body. I just can't. I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just saying, I'm not going to say I love it, because I just can't do that. I just can't. And then they get mad. Sometimes I don't respond, but it's a lovely thing to have, fans. It's lovely.
I get it. And one of the great things about your range of projects is that we just get this fantastic range of wigs, which I know you've discussed before. I mean, you are famous for a lot of things. And one of those things is just a triumph, really, of wigatry, if you will. And I'm wondering, I guess Marcia Clark comes to mind, but I'm wondering, Linda Tripp can be up there too these days. Is there a wig for you that you hold the most reverence for?
The Linda wig is up there, because the Linda wig kind of, once I decided which mannerisms of Linda's to use, Linda was a wildly avid blinker. She blinked so much. And I thought, if I do that, that might be really tiresome really quickly and hard to, it might be, over a 10-hour period, a little bit much. So I was like, what can I, and she did this thing with her hair all the time, it's always tossing it back, and the way so the wig for me was paramount, that it be right. And there's a woman I work with named Michelle Saglia, who's been doing my hair on Horror Story for a long time, but she did Run With Me. She did fantastic film. She did a great wig on me. That was actually my Bird Box wig that she did. Bird Box. We took my Bird Box wig, brought it over to Run, used it there. It was great. She did Ratchet with me. She did not do Mrs. America because she was still shooting, but she's been my collaborator, and she's the greatest. So I love the Linda wig. The Ratchet wig was not my favorite wig. The hairline was not my favorite. It was too straight on the side. People who made the wig, it was not my choice who made that wig. And it didn't have any of this like detail of like, hi, it goes in here. It was like, every time I saw it, I'd get mad, but there was nothing I could do about it. It had a little more hair in it than I'd like.
Fair. But really just wonderful wig work. I mean, unfortunately, there is not an Academy Award category for wearer of wigs, which I think is important. But I do just want to mention real quick, for anyone out there that hasn't seen Run, I'm always kind of looking for like a good thriller. And I feel like it's oftentimes hard to find. And oh my God, Run, that scene towards the end with the man that keeps coming over to the house and he takes the kid and then you pull up in the car and she's waiting. Oh my God, fantastic movie. One of our biggest back and forths on Instagram is you and I discussing, dissecting, taking in the Real Housewives, of which I think it's fair to call both you and I super fans.
Yes.
What first got you hooked on Housewives? And then when did you know that this wasn't just entertaining, but a culture for you?
Well, I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing. I was flying to New York to visit my partner at the time, who's Cherry Jones, and we were sort of bi-coastal living for a minute. And I was flying on JetBlue out of Long Beach constantly back and forth to New York. And that was when the Real Housewives of Orange County was debut. I mean, it was the beginning of it all. And so I'm
the family van.
I'm terrible flyer. And I really hate it. And I watched 4 episodes and then I was there. And it was just like, what is this show? I could not wait to get on my flight to watch it. And that's sort of how it began, was this very innocent sort of get me through my flight to New York. And it was incredibly entertaining. And it was probably New York, which I've been with from the beginning, from the very first frame, from the moment it was shared with all of us. I was there, man. That was the first time where I thought, oh, this world, this universe, this it's for me. It's for me. And I am here for it. I use, and people ask me a lot, and Holland is one of them, and anybody I've ever known romantically has always been like, I don't understand this part of you. This part of you is very confusing to me. It doesn't line up with all the other, and I don't, for the longest time I was like, is it because I want to play them? Am I, and I think I just really enjoy it. I don't know what to say. It might be as simple as, I am very interested in human behavior. And I know a lot of people, and people will always argue with me if they think it's all fake. And I think if it were fake, these people could all win Oscars in ways that, like, they're better than any actor I've ever seen. I'm not saying that someone doesn't say, Erica Jane's going to call you, answer the phone. This, you need to be available. We're filming today, Erica. We're going to film a phone call. Okay. Camera's on Erica. So they're not saying, we do want you to talk about what's going on with the court case, but they don't tell them what to say. And I'm sure, I love it. I don't know what to tell you about it. I love it. I'm here for it. I'm up to date on Salt Lake. I want to continue our conversation about the fashion, because I had a real thought about something that Lisa Barlow was wearing actually the other night that I was really into in a weird way. Maybe I wasn't into the color was a little, but the vibe of the big blazer and the baggy jean and the thing, I was into it.
Right.
Every once in a while I get a little into what Lisa Barlow has on. Not
yeah,
I don't want to wear it, but I'm like, it's not.
I find it interesting, all this discourse around and just like that. And this idea of like, we do not see women in their 50s and 60s enough on television series. And all I think about is a show like The Real Housewives of New York, which features women in their 50s and 60s that are dynamic and interesting and complex and compelling and all the things. And I'm not saying we don't need and just like that, hard tongue twister. I'm not saying we don't need it.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying we don't need it, but I do think that sometimes people don't give these series enough respect. Also in the sense of like keeping the plot moving. I know for me, it was Roni season 3. It was actually the Bethany and Jill, the dissolution of their friendship. And there's that scene with Bethany outside in the red dress by the car, Lou's upstairs with Jill, trying to sort of like, they're trying to broker this friendship. And that was the moment when I knew that this show could do more, that this show could be episodic, that this show could really like carry a plot over and not give like multi-episode arcs, but actually give season-long arcs. And if you look at like this past season of Beverly Hills, for instance, with Erica, to me, the shows operate at their best when you have this sort of like overarching plot to like carry us through.
I think that's right. And also I think it actually asks the audience to sustain something and their interest beyond just something resolving at the end of an episode, although sometimes I find that what they do is they will tease something out that is not that interesting or viable. And I'm like, don't try to turn this. This isn't a story. Yeah. This isn't the thing I care about. But that is not the case so far on Salt Lake and in Beverly Hills this year for me was, New York was a little, I don't know where,
we pretended that does not exist. Speaking of which, not one, but two housewives wanted to call in. And so here's our first question from the lovely Carol Radziwill.
Really?
Hi, Sarah Paulson. It's Carol Radziwill. And my question for you is, if you saw your friend's partner out to dinner with another woman, but weren't sure if it was romantic, would you tell your friend or would you keep quiet? That is the dilemma. And also, I am still shook over your portrayal of Linda Tripp. I mean, what the actual F? That was maximum level acting. I mean, I'm speechless. You are amazing in that role. I mean, so amazing, I'm worried. Anyway, that's not a question, but the first one was the question. What would you do? Would you keep mum or would you tell? Lots of love.
What a angel. Thank her. I'll send her a message, but I'm thank her for saying that about my performance. That means a lot to me. So is she asking me if I saw a partner of mine or another?
No, I believe it was a friend of yours and they're cheating on their partner. They're out with someone else.
Or they're out with someone else and I don't know if it's romantic or not.
Right.
Would I say it?
Do you tell the friend? Do you tell your friend that you saw their partner?
Yes, I do.
I think, yeah.
I do. I would say it by saying, I saw so-and-so out with this person. And I'm assuming that it's not a thing, but I feel weird because did you know that this was happening? And are you okay? Yes, I would tell.
That makes sense. Our next one, it's actually a video. So I'm going to hold it up because this housewife insisted on making a video and it's.
Question number 2. When are you coming to Bluestone Manor? Question number 3, and this is the tricky one. Out of all the Real Housewife franchises right now you're watching, which one is your favorite? Happy holidays.
I love Dorinda's performance of her questions.
It's incredible.
It's so good. I love this woman. I love this Dorinda. I'm telling you, I do. I love her. I miss her on the show. I feel that it's a huge disservice not having her there. I've said this from the beginning. I don't like that she's not there. Okay. So here's my thing. I love your tree. She sent me a picture of this tree on Instagram. I love this tree. I love this tree with a passion. It's like my vibe totally. I also want to eat it because all I care about is candy. Number 2, when am I coming to Bluestone Manor? I don't believe I've received an official invitation. So if that was my official invitation, then let's work on the dates sometime in the spring. This is my opinion, but I would love to come. And then the third question is of the franchises that are nothing's currently on, right? What's on?
No, we have Salt Lake City on right now. We have Orange County on right now. And
I'm not here for Orange County anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think those are the 2 currently in rotation. We've got Jersey on the docket.
I fell off Jersey. I'm not going to lie to you. I fell off Jersey. I mean, I love you all, but no, it's not for me right now. Because we talked about this. I miss Caroline Manzo. I just do.
Same.
I miss her.
No, but I feel like we're aligned. We're Salt Lake City girls.
I'm a Salt Lake City girl. So right now, that is where my love lies, is currently beating. I watched an episode last night. I'm never happier when I'm on my couch with a new episode of a Real Housewives show on to watch. It's my favorite thing.
Oh, you know what else is in rotation right now is Miami. Have you ventured down to Miami?
Were you the one who told me about going down to Miami? Or
no, we haven't discussed it yet.
Worth it? Should I venture to Miami?
Try it out and let's discuss. I'm willing to go down the road, down this road a little bit more, but I wasn't immediately back in. But
someone told me that what you could do is watch every reunion of the first season of the show. It will basically give you all the highlights of everything that actually mattered. And then you can decide whether you're in for the next season.
No, you need the pool party from season 2 of Miami.
Okay.
The famous pool party is epic.
Okay.
It's the moment, it was like the table flip for Miami, but unfortunately the audience just wasn't there.
Okay.
Anyway, we could go long about House. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Well, what was I going to say? Oh, Salt Lake City. That's what I care about. I care about Salt Lake City. I care about it so much. Every single one of those women they're so, we got a lot of like, incredibly, what is the word? Front-footed women. A lot of retiring ladies on that show.
I like that. Front-footed women.
A little out there. Yeah.
Okay, a September headline read, Sarah Paulson says season 10 of American Horror Story will, quote, probably be her last, which, as you know, sent shockwaves through the orbit. I'm wondering what led you to that decision. And I imagine it must be easy to say yes to another go when you have a franchise as successful as this one. Yet something must have compelled you to potentially step away. Where's your head at with Horror Story at present?
It's so funny that got like pick up in a way.
It really did.
Because what I said was like, I think it will be my last one. And then I said, but then the minute he calls me with an idea, I'm always like so excited. So it's like, I really didn't, but the media, they're going to do what they're going to do. Where's my head at? That show is, I have it to thank really for my career. I mean, it's how like everything started to take a turn in a direction that was led to more opportunity for me. So it's hard to say never to that one. I did take a year off. I did Mrs. America during the 1984 year and did not participate in that season. So I think the great thing about Horror Story is like, you're there when you can be there. You're not there when you can't be there. You're there, you're not, you're there. And that I think is a kind of beautiful thing. So I will never say never. And, it will always feel like a home to me. And I feel incredibly lucky to have been part of it.
It's almost like you could be like the Kathy Hilton of Horror Story, which is kind of like you're present, but you're not like officially like on board. So you can kind of vacillate in and out as you see fit. I mean, I kind of like thinking of it that way.
Just sort of feel like never say never, and you never know.
Yeah. I know this is like a tough question, but do you have a favorite memory from filming AHS, or is there a moment for you? I'm particularly interested like in the early years before it was the phenomenon. That was just really fun. That stays with you.
There's so much, I've talked about this before, but Jessica Lange was my absolute acting idol as a young woman. And so we did a play together in 2005 called The Glass Menagerie on Broadway that was much maligned, but we became very good friends. And it's really how I found myself working on Horror Story, because she was already doing it. So my stuff with Jessica will always hold a very particular place in my heart in terms of like, I think, and I've talked about this before, but like, actors, when you're not working, it doesn't mean you're not capable of doing great stuff, right? It doesn't mean that at all. But you get better when you're doing, just like anything else, right? And so that was my first experience of getting to do something really meaty day in and day out. And so I felt like I was sort of learning as I was going how to act in a way that was in a sustained way, in a way that felt fulfilling and exciting. And it was also because the stories were so, especially the early seasons of that show they were Baroque almost and just really, I don't know, it's just a very stylized, hyper real world to live in, and I'm incredibly imaginative, and it meant you could take really big swings and it would still work in the world, and that was a really kind of exciting place to sort of feel like I was getting my feet really wet as an actor, and to be with Jessica, who I'd always admired, and to spend all that time doing all this emotional stuff. But some of the most delightful stuff was like in that first season when I only did 3 episodes where I played the psychic Billie Dean. And one time we were doing a scene, I've told this story before, and there was a fly buzzing around because we've been doing a scene with Thaisa Farmiga where her dead body was found, and there were all these flies they brought in, and they didn't use CGI. There were real flies everywhere. And it was like days later, and these flies were buzzing around the scene. And of course it makes a noise with sound. And Jessica, in the middle of doing this scene where I had to say all the craziest shit like Croatoan and the back in the day, and it was just like an impossible monologue I had. And she and I have a laughing problem. We had a laughing problem on a Broadway stage. We had a laughing problem on set together. We had a delightful schoolgirl giggle town, really get in trouble ruin the day, running out of time, laughing problem, which only made it worse. And a fly was buzzing. I was in the middle of doing my, emoting, Croatoan. She like went like this for a fly. It was dead. She threw it at me and it went down my shirt. So I had this dead fly down my shirt. We laughed so hard that I don't even know if we ever recovered or if we ever were able to continue the scene, and that stuff. And then also when we were in New Orleans, season 3 and 4, it was all Jessica who wanted to go there, and Ryan thought it would be a great idea. And that's how Coven was born. And, working with the space of New Orleans and using all that witchy goodness. And we got to live there, and I was away from home. And it was just it all has, those first 4 seasons in particular are very, very special to me, and in large part due to my time with Jessica, for sure.
I remember when we had Zachary Quinto on last season, he mentioned that you were like quite a jokester on set in a great way, and sort of taking, because that was a very dark season. Asylum is like dark. And was it challenging for you ever? Like, did you have to sort of find mechanisms with which to sort of like alleviate the heaviness of the work?
I'm one of those weird people that I like the heaviness of the work. I love coming home. I used to anyway. I loved coming home and having my forehead be sore from crying at work, and because I had to, it was my job. I love that feeling of waking up on a Saturday morning, being really tired from a long work week. It was like the thing I dreamt about my whole life, and I was getting to do it. And it was almost like my exhaustion and the some of the darkness that we were living inside made it feel like undeniable that I was getting to do the thing that I loved, because I felt so depleted and tired. Now that I'm older, I feel a little less that way. And I'm more like, you don't want to do that sad scene where I have to cry. I used to love it. It used to be my favorite thing. And now I just like, can we do a scene where we're all just drinking and put real booze in my cup? Thank you. You know what I mean? I'm at that point.
I feel that.
That's about me.
Okay, 2 last questions before I let you go. In 2017, you were named as one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time Magazine. That's fucking incredible. Can you name someone that would be on Sarah Paulson's most influential people in the world list?
Oh my God, dude. Sorry, that is,
that's why I said someone,
because it can't be the only one, because
there are 99 others. As Gaga taught us, there can be 99 people in a room.
I love her so much. She's the most delightful person on planet Earth.
I love that photo of the two of you from the 2017 Elle Woman of the Year. And she's in the Marc Jacobs, the suit, and it's you two staring at each other, just smiling, beaming.
Yeah. She's a wonderful person and a fucking great actress. And I will kill anyone who says otherwise. No one else would say it, because
I was gonna say, but
everyone agrees. I'm not saying anything new, but she's fantastic as a person as well.
And I hear she can sing.
She can sing, sort of. It's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, she should consider cutting an album or something.
She should.
She should. For me, it's Jenna Rollins. So, yeah. She, like Jessica, but because I haven't met Jenna Rollins, and I have no personal relationship with her, so whereas with Jessica, it became much more human. Jessica didn't become, she wasn't just this like person who influenced every sort of acting choice I ever made or ever hope to make, or career I hope to have or emulate. She's just become my friend Jessica, which is its own sort of beautiful thing. Whereas Jenna remains for me this, I have photographs in my home of her and Cassavetes that I cherish beyond measure. It's just, she's an actress that just makes me believe in acting and the power of it and the resonance of it and how it can, I really do believe this, and I could probably get crucified for saying this, but I think it can improve the human experience watching a great performance, because it just makes you feel, I think it's particularly the time that we're living in now, the isolation and the feeling, the existential loneliness that I think we all feel, and the ultimate reality of you come in and out alone, and how, no matter how much love you have in your life, there is this kind of thing in the back of your mind where you're always just, the aloneness component is a really potent one. And when you see a performance that makes you feel seen or understood, or that the experience you're having is not an oddity, and there is something so worthwhile and valuable about contributing to the world in that way. So,
I couldn't agree with you more. I just watched Call Me by Your Name for the first time, and I know. And Timothée Chalamet's performance and that character, I mean, I'd read the book before, but like that to what you're speaking to, I kept imagining had younger me seen this movie at a time when I needed this movie, how much the trajectory of my life might have changed had I felt less alone in this world and seen that character.
What kept you from watching it all this time?
I can't explain it. It's something deep inside. I resisted that movie. And I think it's because I had an inkling that it would stir me in the way that it did. But now I'm glad to have been stirred. What a fucking movie. Actually, when you were talking about Carol earlier, there are a lot of parallels for me between Carol and Call Me by Your Name in that when you watch them as queer people and you see queer storytelling at this fucking level, where it's not just like a story about gay people doing gay shit. It's so much more. And no disrespect to that. Those stories are maybe important to some, but like a nuanced gay story, we don't get a ton of them. And when we do, you want to hold on to them. And yeah, so I completely agree with you. Okay, my last question. I want to wind down by talking about the great Holland Taylor. I don't want to pry, but if you wouldn't mind indulging me by telling me one of the things that you love most about her, because I'll tell you what I love most about you two real quick, but you guys do these Instagram lives together from time to time. And just getting to see you both and how much you love one another, it's really heartening. It makes me happy just even talking about it right now. So enough of me though. Is there anything that you can share about this great love that you have?
I think the most what would be the word? Important? That feels too small. Holland is the wisest person I know. Mixed with the sort of most wry and funny and sensitive and kind and terrifyingly smart, soulful person on the planet. So I just feel like I really got very lucky to have a person in my life who is all of those things and who really, quite frankly, the largest, the sort of most significant piece of the story is that she puts up with me. She tolerates me. And I'm a lot, Evan. I am a lot. I'm Sarah Catherine Paulson, and it is a lot over here, kids. It's a lot. It's what you imagine it would be, and then some. It's a lot. So she puts up with a lot, but there is a and sometimes I think there is something about any relationship that if you were to really try to describe why it works or what its value is to you, I don't have the words to describe the why. It just is. I just love her. That is just the way it is. And there is I could list all of the reasons why she's an extraordinary person, but they're not the reason why it is what it is between us. It just is. And if I, could explain it, maybe I would be a great poet or something, but I ain't.
Indeed. Beautifully said. I want to thank you real quick. One last question. The Sondheim tattoo lyric, I should have asked earlier. What is the Sondheim tattoo lyric that you have?
It's from Sunny in the Park with George from the song Moving On. Anything you do, let it come from you, then it will be new. I didn't give them more to see because
I was going to say.
I didn't put that because I thought.
No, you got the end quote.
But also, does it make it seem like I'm saying, you, Sarah, remind yourself to give them more to see, like you're some, messenger from, I'm like, no. That part feels a little, maybe I'll add it later. But right now it just felt a little.
I highly recommend the 2006 off-Broadway cast recording, or maybe it's 2008 or something. But if you search Sunday in the Park, you'll get the original Broadway, and then you'll get the fabulous Jake Gyllenhaal, Annalee Ashford version from several years ago. Also fantastic. But there's a third soundtrack that is available online that I think everyone should seek out there. It's the UK production that transferred to Broadway. Phenomenal.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. I remember that was at the roundabout, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at the roundabout. Yeah. Oh
I
my
remember
God.
the poster.
Profound. Changed my life. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I just want to end by saying thank you so much. I think one of the things that I take away from you, and I take away quite a lot from you, is you're just so kind. You're really, really kind. And I believe in kindness and goodness. And though we don't know each other, I feel this kinship with you, and we share a lot of interests and opinions. And you taking the time to do this amidst your busy schedule is very meaningful to me. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I thank you.
Oh, I'm so, so happy to have done it. I adore you. And thank you. Thank you for having me. I really mean it.
My pleasure. All right, we're good. Oh, the very last thing is, can I have you do 3 takes of you saying "shut up, Evan" in various vocal intonations? It's something that I have all of my guests do.
Okay.
Shut up, Evan.
Shut up, Evan. Oh, shut up, Evan. Shut up.
Wow, that was powerful. Thank you so much.
Shut
All
up,
right,
Evan. Shut up.
enjoy.